Few short weeks ago, we had 64. Today, we're down to 4, and it all comes down to this. I welcome you to the Final Four finale of the 2023 Virtual March Madness Tournament. My name is College Sports Revived, and this is where our road ends. Baylor, Providence, Houston, and Kansas are the Final Four schools still left standing in the second ever virtual tournament on this channel. Alabama cut down the nets in the first rendition, but we won't have a repeat champion. So let's find out who will be the virtual tournament champion of 2023. Let's get into it, guys. So up to bat first, we have the winners of the South against the East, Baylor and Providence. So the Bears stay in their home state, while the 11 seed Friars, who continue to shock the world, who are already underdogs also, travel all the way down from Connecticut for their third ever Final Four appearance. So we're going to begin the scoring and the highlights here on the Friars side of things. Noah Locke from mid-range. Rims in form. Noah Locke, a 6'3 senior who's fourth on the team in scoring this season. Now over to Baylor's side of things. LJ Cryer, one of the better three-point shooters in the entire field, dishes it to Keontae George, one of the better freshmen in the field, and he will dump it down off the pick and roll to Jalen Bridges for Baylor's first points tonight. I'm expecting a really good Final Four. This has been a really good tournament for the most part, as here we go with Devin Carter stepping it back, kicking it out to Bryce Hopkins for three. Providence again with the lead, shooting it well here early, but Bryce Hopkins was a big storyline, I guess you could say, revolving around him early on in this tournament, as Providence had to go up against his former team, the Kentucky Wildcats, in the first round. And there's another three. Jared Bynum now gets three of his own, so Providence up 6 early, but that's how it started for Providence. And here in the virtual tournament, they beat the Wildcats 75-68 in the first round, then Kansas State by 8, Marquette by 12, and then FAU in only the second ever 9 versus 11 game in March Madness history. And look at this, they're locking up on defense. Finally some stops, as it's been nothing but offense here early. And look at this, some bad luck for Keontae George. He had the steal, but Clifton Moore just takes it away. And the Friars score yet again, opening up the lead to 8 now. That FAU game was crazy. It was a really good regional final. They won by 6, as FAU was one game away from repeating their Final Four run. The Bears do earn another stop here. It was a Keontae George on the steal. Baylor actually had some very close games of their own, as Langston Love, one of the best names in college basketball, I might add, goes up high and punches it down hard to cut the lead now down to 8 with 7 and some change left to go in the first half. They beat UC Santa Barbara in the first round by 12, then NC State by only a basket, Missouri by 3, as Keontae George nearly gets a 3 of his own, but it's all good. Langston Love on the glass will give Caleb Lohner a second chance at it, and Baylor's back within 5. So yeah, 2 really good games for Baylor against NC State and Missouri that they just grinded out, and then they took down Maryland by 20 in the regional final game, the 8th seed against the 3 seed it was in the South. So now they're down by 5. George with an open look, and he gets the 3. A little bit of speculation on Keontae George's draft stock right now. I think he's a really talented player, but he was very inefficient from the field. I think he was under 40% field goal wise. He shot 34% as a freshman from 3, so I don't know, maybe a guy who needs to stay another year. Nonetheless, though, he makes that 3. Baylor's on the run, and they're up by 1 now, as the ball reversal hits Langston Love right in the chest. He shoots a 3 and gets it. Langston Love, a 36% three-point shooter. Baylor's got plenty of them. They actually have the highest 3-point percentage out of all the Final Four teams this year, and it's not really that close either, as Bryce Hopkins knocks down his second 3. The former Kentucky Wildcat averaging 16 and 8.5 rebounds, leading the team in real life on both categories. Both of these teams are actually the 2 better 3-point shooting squads in the Final Four. In real life, Baylor shot 37.2%. That's first place out of these Final Four teams. And then Providence out of the East shot 35.1%. So these are the 2 best downtown shooting clubs here in the Final Four of the virtual tournaments. And here goes Adam Flagler backdoor. It's really nice to see this action that Baylor is running, man. This offense is really tough to stop. A lot of screens and constant moving away from the ball, and why not? Baylor's got full of athletes. That's how Scott Drew's been recruiting these last couple years, as Adam Flagler finds Jonathan Teamba Tachua, a man from Cameroon. He was one of 5 players from that 2020 to 2021 title team, and he makes a 3. He's been improving on that in his career slowly yet surely. That would make it a 5-point Baylor lead as we head to halftime. 46-41, plenty of scoring and a lot of fun so far. A big run there by Baylor to take stronghold of the lead as Keontae George leads them in scoring, with Adam Flagler, who was on the all-region team here in the virtual tournament. He's right behind him with 7 points and 7 assists. And then for Providence side of things, Bryce Hopkins, 17 points, already nearing his season average, thanks to 5 threes there in the first half. Jared Bynum 6, Castro 6, Noah Locke 6. So let's see if Providence can continue this historic run, down by 5 here in the Final Four. Jared Bynum with the ball, handoff to Noah Locke, who's sizing up his man, gets the screen from Hopkins, good on the 3. Noah Locke is their top 3-point shooter percentage-wise in real life, shooting it at an 38.5% clip. That leads our Friars. Now back within a bucket. Here, just beginning the second half, Locke finds Pater, this time inside the paint, draws the bump from Cryer, and puts it in. How about 6 unanswered points for Noah Locke, and they would actually take the lead. The Friars not going anywhere. I love it. We needed a Cinderella story in this series, and the Friars out of the Big East are definitely delivering in that aspect. 21 wins on the year for Providence. Baylor had 23, but obviously that means a little bit more in the Big 12. I like the Big East myself, but this year the Big 12 is just on a different level. Flagler from 3 off balance, but he still gets it to drop to halt the run for the Friars. And you're going to go back and forth here. Keontae George, the leading scorer for Baylor in the first half, tries to go with the little teardrop, but it's denied by Castro. 3:30 to go here in the third. Owlin Bree for 2 to retake the lead. He was actually one of the better bench players for Providence here in this tournament run. This was pretty much the big calling card for them. They had great team performances all the way through. It felt like a different bench guy was stepping up every night here in the virtual tournament, and he had the big game against Kentucky. I think he actually led them in scoring off the bench. Nice dish inside right there as Providence continues to enjoy this run, outscoring Baylor by 12 over the last 4 minutes. Caleb Lohner drives to the short corner and then finds Jonathan Teamba Tachua for the dunk. They needed a way to halt this run for good. I thought when they hit that basket, they did it. Well, perhaps a stylish big man to big man lob will get it done. And earlier I wanted to discuss that Jonathan Teamba Tachua was one of 5 players on the team from the Baylor title out of the 2021 season. So it's him, Jalen Bridges, LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler, and Caleb Lohner, who are all on that championship team. And they're trying to make it 2 in their careers. Here comes Adam Flagler, who's been a little bit quiet, but as much as the game continues to go on, he continues to play better and better. With 4.5 left to go, Baylor holds a 3-point lead now. Providence, you know, they got the punch. They received the punch from Baylor. Will they punch back? Devin Carter for 2, who has actually been the leading scorer for Providence here in the tournament. He was on the All-East region team, averaging 15 here in the virtual tournament. He put up 13 in the real-life season for Providence. Under 3 to play now. Running more of this off the ball action. Keontae George left open, but to no avail. He misses as Carter tries to play hero ball, but it gets nothing but glass there. I'm scratching my head at that shot right now as Flagler goes up to Zach Loveday. He grabs it off the top shelf and dunks it down to give Baylor a 4-point advantage. Timeout, John Thompson. You need energizers off the bench, and that's what Zach Loveday was right then and there. A guy who doesn't play much, but he was in the right position at the right time, and he might have just given Baylor the win. 125 left standing in the way of one of these two teams to make the championship game. No good, but Flo Thamba's on the glass, but it rims out. He had it, but he smoked it. Providence up ahead to Noah Locke, who's had a couple of nice plays, impact plays here in the second half. Hopkins the screen, you gotta watch him as the pop man. No, he'll take it all the way himself. The Friars going nowhere. Noah Locke, the leading scorer for Providence here on the game. Keontae George with 21 to lead the Bears. He's got 11 of that 21 here in the second half. Adam Flagler, though, just as dangerous, moving to his left. Off the back iron, and it goes. Adam Flagler. Can't leave him that space even for a second. And now with the game teetering on the edge of being over, it's the top two scorers on the day going at it. Noah Locke against Keontae George. And Keontae stands tall and gets the block. Caleb Lohner is fouled. This has been an awesome day. Plenty of offense to go around, but when it all comes down to it, it's defense that wins championships. And Keontae George put his hands up at the right time, and hey, good things happen when you're in the right position. So Lohner can make this free throw, and it would make it a 3-possession game, and he does just that. Baylor up by 7 with 30 seconds to go. Nothing Providence can do about it. It was a great run all the way through the tournament. Providence was the Cinderella that we needed, with Bryce Hopkins' awesome revenge story to go at it. Devin Carter becoming a star here, and Providence's team play being the reason why they made it so far. But they falter here to Baylor, 96-88. It was a great game, but Adam Flagler dropping near a triple-double. I didn't realize he had that many points in this one. Keontae George was awesome as well, 21 and 7. The ticker at the bottom said he was the scoring leader, so I was definitely a little confusing there. But nonetheless, Devin Carter 22, Noah Locke 22, Bryce Hopkins 17 and 10. Like I said, plenty of offense today, but the biggest stand was on defense, thanks to Keontae George. So now we got Houston and Kansas. So now these two prominent 1 seeds go to battle after watching a 3-11 go at it. And we have a pretty awesome matchup today. We got Houston, who's trying to do something you don't see very often, win a title in their home city, while Kansas is going to try to repeat as champions if you count their title from a season ago in real life. So 7:18 to play in the opening minutes. Already a couple minutes elapsed in this one as Marcus Sasser is blocked by Zach Clements. Plenty of offense in Houston, or rather Baylor against Providence, but here in the opening minutes of this game, it's been completely the other direction as Zach Clements then gets called for an offensive 3 seconds. So you're getting a beat on just how sloppy and poor this game has been played so far in the opening minutes. 3 minutes in and we still don't have any baskets. It's Zach Clements who tries to make up for his mistake. It rims out. So we're at the 3-minute mark. Marcus Sasser is cold. No one's having a good time out here. See if Jamal Shed can draw first blood. He grabs the screen and have a nice little up and under move against Kevin McCullough. Finally, we have points, everybody. The hometown kids strike first. A lot of red in this arena right now, but no surprise there. It's got to feel pretty comforting if you're Houston, seeing all that UH apparel up in the crowd. And just being so close to campus as Shed then turns it right back over. So our savior then becomes, one of the rest with a turnover. But Jalen Wilson dunks it down. His first make in 4 attempts. And over 4 minutes into the game, Kansas finally gets on the board. And they get their second field goal as well as Zach Clements. Nice little move, putting the ball on the deck and pulling up from 6 feet out. Then Kelvin Sampson would burn a timeout. Perhaps Houston is kind of wavering under the pressure a little bit. This is basically like a home game for them, so you got to think what it's going to be like if they can't pull it out. Nice job putting the hands up and getting a tip by Reddy Cheney, and he's got the break, but coming out of nowhere, it's Ernest Uday who blocks him all the way to the tunnel. Look at this. Closing speed, and he gets a beat on the ball. and it just kept going. Look at this. The ball continues to roll. Oh, it's almost like the Chef Boyardee commercial with the can that kept rolling all the way into the tunnel leading up to the game. That's pretty impressive. But still, though, these defenses have been towing in all night long. Obviously, there's been some sloppy offense, but you can't take that away from these defenses going to work. There's a nice pass inside. So Houston gets their first lead of the contest with 5 and some change left to go here in the first half of action. Kansas 28 wins on the year, Houston 33 with a 17-1 conference record as MJ Rice hop steps his way to a bucket. 6'5" freshman from Durham, North Carolina segues us into yet another lead change as the Jayhawks are now up 4. These have been 2 of the more dominant teams throughout this virtual March Madness tournament, so it's a little bit surprising that they have both looked this underwhelming here in the first half of this Final Four game. Kansas, as Joseph Yesufu, it's a big 3. The St. Louis transfer gets a huge bucket there. But Kansas beat Howard 72-54, then Illinois by 21, St. Mary's by 17, and Gonzaga by 19. So they have looked unstoppable as Terrence Arsenault, the 6th man for the Cougars, gets 2. Nice job pulling up there. Houston had a couple of dominant games as well. They beat North Kentucky by 30, Auburn by 21, Indiana by 10, and then Xavier in the regional final by 24. So 2 of the more dominant teams in the field struggling here on offense, but it'd be a 7-point Kansas lead as we head into halftime, 28-21. So obviously the scoring a lot harder to come by in this one. Some of that's been great offense, or rather defense. Some of that's just been bad offense. But Jalen Wilson was 7 and 4 with Joseph Yesufu also was 7 off the bench. He's really helping out as Grady Dick's not having the game that we all thought he would. The future lottery pick with 0 points to his name. Marcus Sasser's 1 for 8. Tremont Mark 1 for 6. Jamal Shed 1 for 4. Houston just not prepared. And Jerace Walker, future lottery pick himself with no points. So some future NBA talent not up to snuff here in the Final Four. But here we go with Jawan Roberts for mid-range. That's a much-needed bucket for Houston. Pick and pop works to perfection. And now they're back within a possession. Joseph Yesufu, the former Billiken, who's been awesome here in this game. He's coming off a screen, and he will rise up and punch it down. Yesufu with 12 on the game. I know he's probably not been what Kansas fans were expecting when he's transferred from St. Louis. He averaged 13 points in 2020 for the Billikens and only 4 points and 38% shooting this year for the Jayhawks as Marcus Sasser's trying to break his own slump. He now improves to 4-14 from the game. But yeah, Yesufu maybe not having the Jayhawk career that he thought he would, but here in the Final Four, he has come to play, and he's been the X factor in this one. DeJuan Harris, an East St. Louis kid, off the screen for 3. I've been waiting to talk about him. He's 9th in the NCAA this year in assists per game, but he's actually become a really prominent scorer in this virtual tournament, even making his way on the West Region All-Region team. And that was mostly due to his scoring here. In the virtual tournament, he almost got 2 in a row there, but Kansas will have to settle for just a 10-point lead at this point. Nice ball movement on the break. Jawan Roberts filling the lane. And this ball barely even touched hard wood as it made its way up the floor, covering 94 feet in a hurry. There was a nice dunk right there. We saw a couple of jams really provide a spark for both teams in the Providence-Baylor game as Houston's trying to make that come to life here. And this one as well, Tremont Mark, tough shots on the pull, but the Baby J falls. And now Houston's back within 5. They're cutting this Kansas lead down to size. Under 3 to play here in the semifinal game. We got Baylor. Are we going to have 2 Texas teams and them in Houston? Or we're going to have Kansas try to defend their title. A little push shot from the post. It's not going to go there. Zach Clements toes in. And he actually take the ball up as he finds Jalen Wilson on the backdoor feed. We saw a big man connection last game. It's Zach Clements with just a little touch pass up to Jalen Wilson, the leading scorer and top player for the Kansas Jayhawks. Jalen Wilson's actually 26th in the NCAA in points per game this year, but none too as big as those two right there. 64-53 will be your final as the Jayhawks survive the hometown kids and will move on to face the Baylor Bears in the 2023 virtual March Madness title game. So Bill Self's back at it again. Not too long after his real-life championship with the Kansas Jayhawks, he's back and he's ready for yet another run at the title. Leading the Jayhawks is DeJuan Harris again, just scoring way more than he does in real life. I mean, he's a 9-point per game scorer in real life, but obviously he's a great defender and passer. But here in virtual March Madness, he's just become the go-to scorer sometimes for these Jayhawks. Sasser 5 of 15. He had that early cold spell and then couldn't really break out of it, and that was kind of the case for multiple Houston Cougars. So here we go. The title game is about to tip off. Kansas, winners of the West. Baylor, winners of the South. Clements and Flo Thamba at the timeline will be the Kansas Jayhawks winning the tip. We'll see if it takes as long as it did against Houston for them to score in this one. Keontae George off the screen, moving to the elbow. Deadly mid-range shooter, Keontae George. Baylor averages 77.2 points per game, Kansas 74.9, but they allow less a contest as Zach Clements actually puts the ball on the deck and beats Flo Thamba to the rim. Pretty impressive take there, as he was not afraid to look for scoring opportunities in the Houston game. So now Jalen Wilson up to Grady Dick, who was scoreless in the first half against Houston. This time, the future NBA lottery pick gets it done in transition. 14 points per game for the 6'8 freshman. He's a 40% three-point shooter right on the nose, so you hope that he turns it around and has a big game for Kansas. I don't think that they're going to have two bad games like that in a row. What a pass, though, on the next trip up the floor for Keontae George. Passing out of his shot, something you don't see coaches advocate for very often. I know that all too well, as my pops would always not be too friendly with me whenever I would try to pass out of my shot whenever I used to play and make plays for other guys. But nonetheless, he gets it done, and then Baylor continues with a nice stretch with Lohner making this one on the break and absorbing the foul from Kevin McCullough. This is the guy who hit the game-sealing free throws against Providence, and he gets it done here on the break. But Kansas not going away, and you wouldn't expect them to. Sizing up Wilson, he is trying to go at Jalen Bridges, who almost pokes it loose, but he regains possession and scores on top of D'Antoine Grimes for a three-point play opportunity. He takes the lead. He's pumping out the KU faithful who made the trip from Lawrence. But yet again, Baylor once again up 6. So what do? They keep it in the hands of their go-to scorer, Jalen Wilson. Reaches the top shelf and punches it down. This will get it back within 4. Jonathan Taumba-Tachua, not an easy guy to beat off the bounce. But Jalen Wilson shows off that bounce, both on the deck and through the air. He's got another basket. Baylor's got that team takeover, though, and it's rubbing off on defense. 1 block, 2 blocks, as the Bears close it down on that trip. 3 minutes to go, 3-point game. Every time the Jayhawks have sniffed the lead here in the first half, the Bears have a response, and it continues. Adam Flagler with more of that great guard cutting and screening action they've been running all Final Four long. Dodgers had them ready to go against some of the best defensive schemes in the country. Kicking it out this time, it's D'Antoine Grimes for 3. Back up to a 6-point Baylor lead with 60 seconds left to go. Baylor, like I said, the best three-point shooting team here in the Final Four out of these 4 teams. Cuffy, though, wants to respond, and he gets a triple of his own. The lead's cut in half and would remain 3 with a little bit more scoring, that is, as we head into the locker room. 44-41, Baylor with the lead. Take a look at the scoring leaders. Adam Flagler, 11 and 4. LJ Cryer already with 7 assists. He's been the man orchestrating it. When these guards are cutting and screening away from the ball, Cryer's been finding these guys. 8 for D'Antoine Grimes off the bench, and Keontae George has 8, making half his shots as well. Jalen Wilson, another player with 8, as Grady Dick with 6, 4, and 3 steals to respond after his tough Final Four game last round. Let's pick things up here in the second half, right off the inbound. Adam Flagler, he is at the controls for the Baylor Bears, as he will try to find his teammate. This is Keontae George, who's fouled on the 3-point shot, and he hit it. What a play! Keontae George gets speared by Jalen Wilson, and yet still has the focus to knock it down and hit the free throw. So it was only a matter of time before we see what punch Baylor throws. They've been doing it all first half long, but Grady Dick, look at this, using his length to get to the rack. 6'8", as he out-muscles and out-heightens LJ Cryer by 7 inches. So that's just way too easy. 53 to 51, 6:05 left to play. Cryer tries to extend the lead, but it's no good. MJ Rice, the freshman, brings it up, and with a basket here, Kansas can tie it as he creates space with a step back in the lane. As MJ Rice, little shoulder shrug similar to a different MJ that used to play back in the 90s. How about that? Yet again, the Bears, 2 unanswered baskets, and with the possession, they just keep finding a way to keep Kansas off their coattails. With LJ Cryer wide open, no good, but Jalen Bridges on the glass. 3-point play opportunity coming your way. It's yet another foul for Kansas. Letting Baylor have, whenever they foul, they're not fouling hard enough. And as Jalen Bridges makes the free throw, Baylor will keep the lead into the home stretch. Good defense, though, here by Zach Clements. 7:10 to go. But I do have to admit, man, I'm having a lot of fun in this episode. I'm very thankful that these games are a lot closer than the last time we did this series. Jalen Wilson gets Jalen Bridges completely lost with the hesitation move, 19 for Wilson. But yeah, I'm glad that these games are a lot closer than the 2021 Virtual March Madness tournament. It was a little bit of a blowout. Alabama just came on and really wiped the floor with everybody. This time, though, it's a lot closer. Nice tip in, though, as the 2 Jalens go to battle. Wilson on one end, then Bridges here with a tip in. Really heads up play there, as here we go. Wilson again against Bridges. Which Jalen will come out on top? Wilson tries to outmuscle him. He gets inside and draws the foul, disqualifying Jalen Bridges. That's his 5th personal, and he is out of here. Jalen Bridges, the 4th leading scorer on the team this season. That's 10 points and 6 rebounds coming off the board. And he's not even contesting it. He knew it. And he will step to the side here for the final 6 and some change, as Jonathan Tamba Tachua will check in, and he will be the matchup, as you see here, for Jalen Wilson down here in the final home stretch, the twilight of the Final Four and the national championship game. Inside, Wilson. Jalen Wilson has been the go-to guy when the Jayhawks have had their backs against the wall. He's delivered, and they tie it up. He's been a little bit inefficient with 23 points, but he's had a whole bucket full of free throws, obviously fouling out his man, and he's come alive here whenever they needed him most. Creative, though, here on the other end, it's Keontae George who gets to 86-84. It's another high-scoring affair here, this time for the national title game. 2-point lead for the Baylor Bears, as Adam Flagler gives it over to LJ Cryer. 10 to shoot, number 10. He's out the controls. 8 to go. Screen, Flagler inside to Cryer, who's blocked by Grady Dick, but Flo Thamba has to force it up from 3, and he pockets it. Flo Thamba, who's not a 3-point shooter, had to hoist it after Cryer got rejected by Grady Dick, but it goes. And with 2:33 left to go, that's the biggest shot of Flo Thamba's Baylor career. There it's looking pretty good for the Baylor Bears, who force yet another stop, but they need perhaps one more bucket to silence the Jayhawks. Flo Thamba, the potential hero, as he gives it off to Adam Flagler, who's making a case for Final Four most outstanding player. Let's see if he can get one more bucket to really solidify it. No, he'll give it to Keontae with 4 to shoot. Gets a screen, dishes it off to Loner. Game, set, match. What a pick and roll combo. These two were on this play. Keontae George with one of the best passes, probably the best pass of this entire NCAA tournament. The Baylor bench is loving it. They know it's only a matter of time, and with time ticking down, Baylor will hold on. That beautiful dish was enough, and they take the title game, an exciting one I might add, by 10 points. Your champions of the 2023 Virtual March Madness Tournament is the Baylor Bears. They couldn't get it done in 2021. They made the Final Four when they won it in real life, and the first time we did this series. This time, though, they get it done despite the youth on this team and the low defensive rating metric for their team. They get it done, and Scott Drew hoists it with his Baylor Bears. And your Final Four most outstanding player goes to Adam Flagler. Love to see it. Take a screenshot. That's what I'm talking about right there. As he joins college basketball immortality, and the Baylor Bears hoist the title game championship trophy. Flag scored 23 and 10 assists here in this one, but it was not a one-man effort. Everyone contributing in different ways for Baylor tonight, and it was just enough to get things done. Jalen Wilson had 25, Grady Dick with 15, and DeJuan Harris with 12, the three-headed monster to lead Kansas side of things in a tough loss. So Baylor, the 3 seed, their year Final Four champions of the Virtual March Madness Tournament here in the 2023 season. They join Alabama as the 2 teams to win it. I can't wait to be back next year for another installment. This is always a lot of fun. I would love to make this an annual thing. And yeah, so as always, guys, if you enjoyed, that's all I needed to hear. Hope you enjoyed this Virtual March Madness series. I love doing this every year with you guys. It's a lot of work that goes into it, but when I finally get to this screen and I see the bracket in its entirety, that's how I know it was worth it. And as always, it was this year again. So I'll be back soon with more Fordham Rams action, and I'll be back next year for the 2024 March Madness Virtual Tournament, hopefully. And yeah, hope you guys stay tuned for more action here on the channel. I'm College Sports Survive signing out, and I appreciate you tuning in for this tournament. It was a memorable one, and it was all thanks to you guys. So I'll be seeing you guys very soon. I'm CSR signing out. Have a great night, guys, and stay tuned for more action on the channel.